Good evening and welcome to the Kent City Council meeting for February 2nd, 2021. I want to remind everyone that this is a remote meeting due to the COVID-19 and health safety requirements in place by order from the governor. A live broadcast of this meeting is available on Kent TV 21, as well as the city's Facebook page and our YouTube channel, which is Kent TV 21. There's also a dial-in option for this meeting as well. Now that we've been called to order, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Ralph?
Here.
Council President Troutner?
Here.
Councilmember Boyce?
Here.
Councilmember Fincher?
Here.
Councilmember Kaur?
Here.
Councilmember Larimer?
Here.
Councilmember Michaud?
Here.
Councilmember Thomas?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ralph. Staff recommends that council add an item 4A2, a proclamation for Black History Month.
All right, any other additions or changes? Seeing none, all those, motion would be in order to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve the agenda with those changes.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries and the agenda stands as amended. All right, we will move right into public communications. Under public recognition, we do have 2 items this evening. The first item is Employee of the Month. Every month, the employees of the city submit recommendations for Employee of the Month. So it may be a coworker or someone in a different department that has gone above and beyond in the work that they're doing, or just the basic attitude that they bring to their day-to-day work. For our February 2021 Employee of the Month, I am pleased to announce that it is Officer Josh Bava. Josh was hired on July 16th, 2007 as a probationary police officer. In 2015, he left the city to be near family, but returned less than a year later on June 1st of 2016. Since he returned to the city, Josh is promoted to his current position as sergeant on August 16th, 2018. As a sergeant, Josh is responsible for helping to protect life and property, enforce laws and ordinances, prevent and investigate crimes. Josh is also a first-line supervisory personnel, which assists in directing a squad or section of the police personnel in their performance of duties and assigned shift or specialized non-supervisory police work of comparable responsibility. Joshua was nominated because he was commended for his attention to detail in planning a special operation, its successful execution, and his cooperation with other local agencies to include the City of Kent prosecutor. Josh continuously embraces our values, and we celebrate him as February's Employee of the Month. Thank you and congratulations to Officer Bava. All right, the next item on our agenda is a proclamation this evening, and it is a proclamation in honor of Black History Month. Whereas Kent's Black residents have contributed to the rich history of our city, the vibrant fabric of our community's present, and will continue to help make Kent a better place in the future. And whereas Kent's Black residents have regularly shattered ceilings through their accomplishments, in local government, Bill Boyce became the first Black Kent City Council member and City Council president after serving 16 years on the Kent School Board. Immediately following Councilmember Boyce, Brenda Fincher was appointed to and then subsequently elected to the Kent City Council. The Black residents of Kent have regularly overcome barriers in the business community, nonprofit community, and in public service. And whereas racism and inequity still persists in our society today, and since the tragic killing of George Floyd by the police officer on May 25th, 2020 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there have been hundreds of protests, marches, and rallies in Kent and across our nation calling to an end of structural racism and for the City of Kent to demonstrate that Black lives matter. And whereas the city has taken many budgetary and policy actions to make progress toward making Kent a safe, inclusive, and welcoming community for all people, but recognizes there is much more work to be done to achieve equity, justice, and inclusion for everyone. And whereas the city must recommit itself to achieving a more complete understanding of our past, to reflect on the history and accomplishments of Black residents, and to recognize the progress, challenges, and diversity of these achievements. And whereas the city acknowledges that there is still much work to be done. Now, therefore, I, Dana Ralph, Mayor for the City of Kent, do hereby declare February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Kent and urge all residents to educate themselves on the history of Black Americans and work toward transformative solutions to promote equity and justice for all. All right, with that, we are going to move on to community events. Council President Troutner, do you have any events?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have some things that I want to share. We have events coming up in the community. Tomorrow we start Kent 101. We have over 50 of our residents that have signed up to participate. So that's always fun for them to learn about how our government is run. We have City Action Days, which is put on by the Association of Washington Cities. Many of us council members will be attending that. That is a virtual event this year, and it is February 10th through the 11th. There's lots of seminars, lots of guest speakers, and it gives us a chance to meet with legislators and talk to them about things that concern us here in Kent. On February 12th, we have an event called Feel the Love. It is a drive-through Valentine event at the Senior Center from 10 a.m. to noon. It is for 50-plus residents. And you do have to go online to sign up for that, but they have really fun goodie bags that they're going to be giving away. And that, again, is open to the public. 50 and older, you need to register. And then we are having another very popular mask giveaway on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. We have the awesome Don't Mess with Kent masks. And again, that is open to the public at Acesso Shower Center from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So anyone can come, and hopefully you'll see some of your council members at these events as well. And that is all I have to share today.
All right, thank you, Council President. Any other community events from council? All right, I am not seeing any hands raised. We will move on in our agenda to item number 5, reports from council and staff, an opportunity to hear about the work that's being done outside of these council meetings or committee of the whole meetings. I will start with a brief report. I sit on the Puget Sound Regional Council's executive board. This last week, we confirmed or passed the recommendations of the Transportation Policy Board regarding funding for the West Seattle Bridge. There was a lot of conversation on the fact that that bridge is of regional significance. It matters to us here in the Kent Valley with so many things coming out of the port and into the Kent Valley via the West Seattle Bridge. So that funding did move forward. Want to give a quick shout out to our folks at the Senior Center and some of our parks employees. I had the opportunity on Wednesday of last week to go down and meet with our park staff and some amazing community volunteers that are making sure that our Meals on Wheels program continues even through the pandemic. It's probably more important now than ever that those seniors that are not only in need of a meal, but just in need of that connection, someone to check in on them, see how they're doing. The group of volunteers and employees put together 1,200 meals last week. So definitely a need in the community, and was fun getting to talk to the volunteer drivers about why they're volunteering their time and some of the interactions that they have with the seniors that they're serving. Finally, we had the kickoff is not exactly the right word, but grand opening of the Showware mass vaccination site on Monday. Met King County Executive Dow Constantine as well as council members Dunn and Up the Grove at the facility, took a walk through. The site is serving about 500 people a day right now, running Monday through Saturday. It is an appointment-only site, so go to King County Public Health to get an appointment. The county has modified the phasing a little bit, and they are serving at this site people that are 75 and older. So that's a little different than what's been in the news. I know there's been some confusion for that. I see Councilmember Thomas celebrating that. But go ahead to the King County Public Health website to check out the specifics on that location. The site, as vaccine supply ramps up, they will be increasing the number of vaccines there a day. and looking at goals of upwards of 1,500 people at a day at some point. So really proud of the partnership there with Cecil Shower Center, King County, and the City of Kent. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Administrative Officer, Derek Matheson.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Ralph, and good evening, Council. Our City Council retreat is finally here this Friday at noon on Zoom, and the packet is now available on the city's website. I also wanted to note that staff is advancing the City Council's priorities from the 2021-22 city budget. So the Council heard from Interim Race and Equity Manager Uriel Varela on the equity strategic planning process at a recent Committee of the Whole meeting. Human Services Manager Marina Hansen is working on a call for concepts for the Youth Behavioral Health Funding. Police Chief Rafael Padilla is working with fellow South King County police chiefs on a sub-regional approach to mental health co-response services. The chief is also working with the city attorney and me on a draft request for proposals for a police data consultant. And the chief will provide a report to council on that draft RFP at your Committee of the Whole meeting next Tuesday. And then I'll update you on the new affordable housing sales tax at the retreat. The rest of my report is in your packet. We have no executive session this evening, but before I conclude, I want to invite Police Chief Rafael Padilla to follow up briefly on some of his remarks to the City Council last week. So, Chief.
All right, thank you, Derek, and Mayor, members of the council and the Kent community. Thank you for the opportunity. I need to come to you tonight and apologize. I provided some misinformation last week during my presentation and our in-depth discussion on the use of force incident that we watched on the video. When I stated that if you are able to talk, then you can breathe, I was absolutely 100% incorrect. That is outdated information. It's a misnomer, and I'm wrong, and I apologize for that. I also want to thank particularly Councilmember Larimer for pointing that out and holding me accountable to that so I could come back and get it correct. The good news is that although the chief of police was wrong, the training received by the officers was correct. So the training we sent out in our training article and our bulletin online did clearly outline the fact that simply because you can talk does not mean you get enough oxygen to sustain life. So deeply sorry for that. I want to make sure that the public is aware that I'm correcting the message, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Chief. Derek, anything additional in your report?
That's all, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we will move on to Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had two presentations during workshop today, and just a reminder that those are taped, so you can go back and watch those, and they're very informative. Our first workshop was on the Federal Way Link Extension. It's 7.8 miles going from Angle Lake to Federal Way. It will be completed in 2024, and they anticipate by 2035, we will have over 36,000 riders using that. So it was a great presentation that updated us on things that have been done, things that are going to be happening. We also talked a little bit about what those two stations will look like and the artists and the artwork that they're going to have on display there. Pretty cool stuff. Lots of things coming in 2021 with lots of changes. So stay tuned for our next quarterly update. We also had a presentation on the park impact fees for Kent. We talked about this at the end of last year. In 2016, the City Council approved and adopted the Park and Open Space Plan. The goals for that are quality public spaces, performance-based approach, transformation through reinvestment, and sustainable funding for our parks program. So the question now that we ask is, how do we pay for new expanded park and recreation facilities needed to support the growth in our city? And that's where we're looking at this as an option. So more to come on that. We are going to have a presentation at our Committee of the Whole meeting on the 23rd of February, and it will also come to City Council on the 2nd of March. So looking forward to seeing what that comp plan looks like that includes all of those project lists. I also sit on the Regional Transit Committee, and we met on January 20th. I'm excited to say that I was elected as the vice chair of that committee, and we approved the system evaluation report from Metro. They also introduced to us the new dashboard that is on kingcounty.gov/the-DASH. And it's got information on ridership, how things are happening right now with the change in COVID, how many people are using transit, how many people are wearing masks and things like that. So it's really kind of a cool tool to go look at. We also continue to talk about our work plan through the end of 2021 and working through the strategic plan, updating the service guidelines and Metro Connect. So we will continue that conversation throughout the year. I also sit on the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee, and we met on January 28th. And we heard from many cities around King County, including our own city here in Kent. Chief Padilla did a presentation on the challenges of COVID and the police department here. We heard from other cities. A lot of similar things are happening, but cities are getting very creative. And as you know, we've got very creative how we communicate with our residents here in Kent using social media and trying to do some of these things that we used to do in person in creative ways where we're continuing to engage our community. So that was also a great presentation. Next, I am going to turn to my colleagues and see what they have been up to, and I will start with Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Council President. I serve on Kent's Human Services Commission, and we had those 3 community block development grant hearings that I talked about last time. And then we also talked about the grant making evaluation. So the group has started, well, there's a group that we hired to do, to look at the racial equity of our grant making process. And so they're going to look at the organizations that applied and see how that worked out. And then they're also going to look at the organizations that didn't apply and find out why that was. And they're going to collect data, they're going to do interviews, surveys, and focus groups. And then that final report should be out around April. And then tomorrow, I serve on the Regional Water Quality Committee, and our meeting is tomorrow.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up is Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you, Council President. I serve on Growth Management Planning Council, and we actually had our meeting on January 27th. It was a work session, and we were working on King County countywide planning policies, finalizing them. We discussed 4 chapters in breakout sessions, or all the chapters of the countywide planning policies: housing, developmental patterns, transportation, and hub, public facilities, environment, and economy. And I want to give a shout out to some of our amazing employees, Haley Bonsteel and April Deschamps, who have been working and leading economy chapter and making notes in transportation chapter to make sure Kent's interests are very well represented at the regional level. I do serve on Puget Sound Cleaner Agency Advisory Council. I serve as the chair, and I also serve on King County Domestic Violence Initiative Regional Task Force. We'll probably be meeting in the next couple of weeks, and I'll have more updates then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaur. Councilmember Larimer.
Thank you, Council President. So I serve on the King County Affordable Housing Committee, and we had a long work session last Friday. And among the things, we did a bunch of housekeeping for the new year, re-elected our chair and vice chair. We adopted a number of changes to our own charter, but that most of the work that we did was reviewing and doing a lot of line item edits and back and forth and getting final approval on the countywide planning, the Affordable Housing Committee's addendums to the countywide planning policy chapters that Councilmember Kaur spoke of. So we are our recommendations and amendments will feed into their work as well in the next few months. And then eventually the countywide planning policies will go to the King County Council for approval around June or July. So that was the bulk of the work, and then we did finish up with making a few reviewing and approving our legislative agenda for the year as well. So, and I also sit on the King County Aging and Disabilities Advisory Council, and we're meeting this coming Friday. So my next report will be on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Larimer. Something that I probably should have recognized during public recognition is Councilmember Boyce was recently nominated for the Harborview Board of Trustees. So Councilmember Boyce, in your report, I don't know if you'd like to share a little bit about that, but anything else that you have going on?
All right. Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I sit on the Sound City Association PIC committee, right? I'm the vice chair. We haven't met since the last meeting, so our next meeting will be on Wednesday, and I'll report out to that. And also, thank you for the recognition as being appointed, I should say, by Councilmember Dunn to sit on the Harborview Board of Trustees. I'm very excited about that. It's a huge job, and Harborview is the #1 trauma center in the whole Northwest area, so with big responsibility. So a lot of work, but I'm looking forward to the tasks, and I will keep you guys abreast as we go forward on some of the things we'll be doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, and congratulations. That's great. Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, congratulations to my fellow colleague there, Bill. That was really good assignment. I sit on the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority along with Council President Troutner and Councilmember Boyce. So we met last month on the 20th for a brief meeting, and we will be meeting this month actually twice, tomorrow at 5:30 and also on the 19th, 17th at 5:30 at Covington, Station 78. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas. And Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll start with the Arts Commission. We are in the midst of judging our panel selections for the downtown rotating murals. And we have now gone through phase 1, which took the number of over 50 applicants who have submitted their artwork down to under 10. I believe we have gotten that number down to 6 or 8, and that number will go down to 2 who will submit and who will actually do the murals for the downtown partnership project. Mental Illness and Drug Dependency Advisory Council, we actually spent a lot of time talking, one, about our budgets. MID serves over 371,000 people in the county, and doing that, about 60% of the funds come from the state Medicaid fund, and there's been no increase in that, even though costs have gone up 5 to 10% a year. And a lot of that, you might just say spend less money, but you can't do that because the cases are based, or the costs are based on the number of cases, on inflation, which you would imagine, but also some of the needs that have increased those costs are state mandated, just as us with our need for our defense for people who go to court. There's also needs there that are mandated. So we are in the process of lobbying to have money added to that fund because it's just become unbearable. A lot of those costs coming through the courts, we want to track and see how much is actually due to the courts. So when more money goes to the courts, that means less money is able to go to services. So court costs are a big part of that. We're also looking at increasing our services as making them, assuring that they are culturally informed and trauma informed for our behavioral health sciences. And we want to work in conjunction with programs like Best Starts for Kids and the Veteran Services programs. So across the board, we're looking at that to make sure that that's what we're doing in each program. Lastly, we did a very interesting process for deciding and prioritizing what our goals and priorities are going to be. And so the end goal is to make sure that we integrate into the work of the advisory committee, everything that we chose from these goals. And so it was done through a program called, an application called Minty. And so everybody in the room submitted their answers electronically. That will go to help set our program for the coming next year and beyond. And so it was very interesting. So I hope that you guys like what comes out of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Fincher. Madam Mayor, that ends our reports.
All right, thank you, Council President, and congratulations, Councilmember Boyce, on that appointment. Know that you will represent South County well in those conversations. All right, item number 6 on our agenda is public hearing. We do not have any this evening. The next item number 7, is public comment. The public comment period is the opportunity to speak to council and mayor on issues that relate to business of the city of Kent. Comments that do not relate to the business of the city of Kent are not permitted. Additionally, Washington state law prohibits people from using public comment period to support or oppose a ballot measure or candidate for office. Each one of our speakers will be given 3 minutes for comment, and we do ask that you state your name and city of residence for the record prior to starting comments. Kim, could you please call our speakers?
I have 2 people signed up to speak tonight. The first one is Mauricio Lopez.
Brenda Fincher, and council members for the first time to let you know that I am concerned with the type of policing that the Kent Department offers to Black residents. I've heard a number of stories from friends and associates and have recently watched 2 police body cam footage that are deeply disturbing. But even more disturbing was the way in which Rafael Castilla brilliantly defended the actions of his officers on one of the body cam videos during the city council meeting on January 26, 2021. Chief Padilla excused his officer's response to the Black man who stated that he couldn't breathe by stating that if he can talk, he can breathe. But the research points to a very different reality, and thankfully a council member pointed that out to Chief Padilla during the council meeting. If your leadership, the leadership of the department, does not know the correct procedures, how can we guarantee that the police officers are following the procedures? Judging from that video, they were not following the procedures. The Kent PD claims to serve with compassion, professionalism, respect, and integrity, but the body cam footage dated on April 9, 2020 of the Black male who had difficulties breathing and the newly released body cam footage dated 7/22/2020 of the Black young lady do not show evidence of compassion, professionalism, respect, or integrity. Matter of fact, the officer is caught lying to his colleagues about what happened in the video. But who's holding the department accountable to ensure that they treat everyone, regardless of race and economic status, with compassion, professionalism, respect, and integrity every time with no excuses? Because Chief Padilla keeps saying that his officers are human and make mistakes, but our Kent residents are human and deserve to be treated with respect. I ask you today with a heavy heart to please hold the Kent Police Department accountable to their mission, their values, and their principles, because our humanity depends on it. Thank you.
So, Mayor, I actually have Mauricio's comments that he sent via email, and I can forward that to all the council members because it was really hard to understand Mauricio at the beginning of his public comments.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
We'll call our next speaker.
Yes, our second and last speaker is Shahida Lopez.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shahida Lopez. I am a resident of Kent, and I have a comment to share with you. So on January 29, 2021, Mayor Dana Ralph sent out a weekly update video where she said, "It seems like there are always people looking for fault. What went wrong? What wasn't perfect? I keep thinking, when did we stop believing the majority of people are doing their very best every single day and stop focusing on the things that they are doing right and only coming after them for the things that they are doing wrong?" Then she ends by saying that the next time you see a city employee, say thank you. And the next time that you get ready to point out what someone has done wrong, here's my challenge to you. Take a step back, remember all the things that that person, the organization, or the group, remember all the things that they've done right. My guess is there's going to be a lot more right than wrong. I want to thank you, Mayor Ralph, for sharing your reflections last week. They definitely help ground us in positivity and appreciation. But let me share you what I think. The city of Kent will never be able to move forward towards an anti-racist goal and move closer to a socially just community if we keep telling one another to simply focus on the positive and change our perspective. Focusing on what's going well alone is what allows us to detach from reality. It allows us to detach from one another's reality and struggles, and then we continue to just uphold the status quo. So what happened? What happened to the mayor who said back in 2020, and I quote, "We need to be clear that we will work to be an anti-racist city government. As elected officials, we have an obligation to do what is best for our residents." The mayor cannot do what's best for Kent residents if she cannot take constructive criticism. And constructive criticism requires everyone not just to focus on the positive. So the City of Kent website says explicitly, we are listening, we are learning, we are changing. The city is committed to working with state legislators, community members, and other stakeholders in identifying and supporting social justice reform. If you are in fact listening, learning, and changing, then please stop telling residents that we need to remember all the things he's done right. That's not what a leader that's looking to make changes in the city would say. As a city resident, I have the obligation to hold the mayor, the Kent City Council, the police department, and every other department accountable so that you do what's best for our residents. And right now, there is very little indication that the city is taking a hard stance on becoming anti-racist government. I hereby request to the mayor to stop trying to give Kent residents a guilt trip for holding her accountable to the work that she said that she would do. And I hope that in the future, the mayor and the city council can meet our higher expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That was the last speaker.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Okay, we will move on in the agenda to item number 8, which is our consent calendar. It's a compilation of the work that the council has done over the last several weeks at Committee of the Whole. Council President, do you have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve consent calendar items A through G.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries 7-0. With that, we move on to item number 9, other business. We do not have anything on the agenda this evening, nor do we have any bids or executive session. So with that, we've come to the end of the agenda. Thank you, council, for your work this evening. And with that, we are adjourned.
Oh my gosh.